as we've talked about on past couple shows, I got a new car recently. My old one was a good 10 years old, so I get in this one, and there's all kinds of bells and gewgaws and all kinds of stuff on it that I haven't experienced before, but I'm really glad to have them now. I took a trip to Wisconsin this past weekend, visit family, and on the drive home, some of those bells and whistles saved me from an accident because somebody with their big old teardrop trailer decided to change lanes without looking. And I was right there next to their trailer. At the same time that they put the signal on to change lanes, they'd already started changing lanes. And clearly hadn't looked. And yeah, I saw it coming and would have seen it probably without it. But it was really nice that the car went ding, 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 and lights flashed on the register. And it just helped me to realize I better steer off onto the shoulder of the road fast because they were moving just that fast. And I honked on the horn and all of this stuff. They just kept coming, never paid any attention to what was going on. And so I'm off on the left side of the road with the thing going, blah, 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 blah. I'm telling me, yeah, I know I'm driving off the road. I have to save myself, and hit the brakes, let it get by me. Continued to lay on the horn all this time, but no, they still got in that lane. And then after they were in the lane and I was fully behind them, then they went back to the center lane.
Oh, jeez.
Hello? I don't know what they were. So then, of course, I floored it just to get past them so that I wasn't, they were behind me to not have to get stuck with that. But you know what? I'm happy for all of those bells and whistles that are on there that at first were driving me crazy because I didn't know what they meant.
So sounds like Honda's come a long way since 2018. Back when I had my CRZ, I had the weirdest problem that was never replicated when it went to a garage ever, never. And I literally my power steering would just turn off and on randomly. So yeah, it sucked. And then I'd take it to a garage and they're like, we can't find anything wrong with it. I'm like, this sucks. I don't know. And I was driving by the dealership and it was doing it, and I have time. I right in. I got out. And I said, "Nobody turn this car off." I literally yelled that and went into the service. Anyway, this started another aspect of why I don't like Hondas. But it was in there for a really long time for a stupid part that cost me. It was a small circuit board that controlled the entire EPS system, and it was like $1,000 for that part. But yeah, anyway, they of course didn't have the part in the continent, so literally they had to get it from Japan. But yeah. But anyway, they gave me a loaner car. I think it was a 2018 model, and when I was driving, it had that stuff. Except in the scenario, in the car that I was in, if I was in your exact scenario, there would have been an accident because the safety feature in the 2018, it would have applied the brakes.
Oh, no, I didn't do that. Thank God.
Well, yes, that's what I'm saying. It happened because I drove to Busch Gardens in the loaner car that I had, and I was driving down 95. And the trailer next to me, tractor trailer next to me, went into my lane, and my car just slammed on the brakes. And I'm like, that is the dumbest reaction to that. First of all, there was no warning. I was completely I had no idea what was going on. I didn't see anything. The car saw it first, but responded in completely the wrong way. So I'm glad to hear it was just a ding. Let me tell you,
just an alarm went off and lights flashing, and and allowed me to handle it from there at least. Yeah, that would have been awful. Then I for sure probably would have been hit by that, sideswiped by that thing.
Right?
If it hit the brakes. There's no question.
Yeah, it was and I think it was one of the. It must have been right around the time that Honda first started doing that. Those safety assist things. And I think they just must have had this concept of and I guess, anybody in any kind of mechanic can tell you. They're like, it's like e-stop almost. Like, it's like, oh, we don't know what's going on like this, so let's just e-stop. Like, put on the brakes, stop everything.
Yeah.
But like that doesn't work.
On the road, that's not necessarily the best option.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that was lucky about it is that I was on a stretch of the interstate where that left shoulder was wide and available.
Yeah, that's true.
because probably a third of my trip was on roads that were undergoing construction where there was no shoulder of any kind, even though it was still 2 lanes. Or in some cases in Indiana, only 1 lane with trucks going 35 miles an hour for several miles at a stretch for absolutely no reason, because there was no construction actually going on.
That's always fun.
Yeah, there was construction on like 2 or 3 bridges, but that they would need to go down to 1 lane for the bridge. But there were miles and miles and miles and miles of road between the bridges that they just left at 1 lane the whole way through.
Which state was this? Was this Pennsylvania?
It was Indiana.
They're kind of up there with Pennsylvania.
Well, typically in my drive home to Wisconsin, Ohio is the worst for road construction, being in place with nothing happening, not even any equipment there, but a lane is shut down anyway.
Oh, see, I would say Pennsylvania's, well, they do it every year. I-70, they just like, oh, hey, it's about that time. Let's get some barrels. close the whole damn lane. Like, I'm talking like 10 miles, not 10 miles, that's exaggerated. Like 5 miles. Just close the lane. There's nothing. I don't even know what they're doing. Like, what they're even alleging to do. Nothing seems to ever change.
Well, maybe it's like, you got 3 trains on the coaster, but we're only going to run 2 to spare the third one, to not run it down.
So we're going to saving wear and tear on
one of the lanes.
It's probably just someone wanting to be like, we're going to test out, because eventually we're going to shut that left lane down for construction. So we're just going to test out now what it's going to look like when it's shut down in construction. We'll just block it off now to see what happens. And if we don't like the result, we can open it back up. No big deal, right?
It's every year, though. That's the thing that gets me. It's like, what road gets work every year? And then let's add the qualifier in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Who famously is like, it's fine. It doesn't eat cars yet.
It's not a sinkhole. It's just
right. Exactly. If it was a sinkhole, okay, we'd have to do something, but your car goes over it.
Yeah.
This is Side Friction Podcast. It's episode 95 for September 6th, 2025. I'm Bob.
I'm Greg.
I'm Ryan, the ride mechanic.
And, what should we talk about?
I don't know. Maybe Six Flags?
Yeah, they got a sale going on. They extended it.
Yeah.
I wonder why you would extend a massive sale like that. That's going to your company's probably going to lose money hand over fist. Why would you extend a sale like that?
I don't know.
It's absolutely baffling.
It's almost like they're trying to like bribe you for something. Like, come to our parks and give us money while you're here.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about this is there was some conversation I was reading on Reddit, and there were actually a lot of good points brought up. Like, even Cedar Fair would always they would always extend the first one, but it would usually be just like a few days or something like that. Not like this. Like, the timing on this is different, but this does seem more like the Six Flags method of, hey, did you not get this? Here's your last chance. We swear, this is your last chance. Palace was famous for doing that too. But like, there's the weird timing things though. Is like, this sale was publicized for a really long time. Like, it seemed to come earlier, maybe it's just my imagination, but it does seem like they started that MVP sale sooner than they usually start their 2026 sale. Well, actually, they even started that sale even before all the parks were selling their passes. So, in that regard, it was early, which to me is like people sitting around a table saying, "Hey guys, we need money quick. What can we do to get it now?" Oh, I know. Let's start selling our passes early.
Do you think anyone at the corporate board right now is looking around going, why are season pass sales down? Which I'm just imagining they are. I'm not saying they are, but I'm just imagining they are. And someone's like, well, have you seen the weather outside?
You know, it wouldn't surprise me at all if that was, absolutely true. Do you have a hidden camera in their boardroom there, Ryan?
Right. No, not at all. Just speculation. I'm just like, well, that's like everything else was weather, so why can't this be weather as well?
I mean, it's the weather's made it tough for me to get to my laptop.
Yeah. Well, it is storming in the boardroom, I'm sure.
There's all kinds of ways you can look at it. I know there's like the speculation, like, oh, they're extending the sale. That must mean that season pass sales are down. It could. The thing that's weird to me is that Six Flags, the Six Flags fire has transcended the Thursday community and like burnt past. Like it's almost reversed. Like the general public are the ones going like, well, I don't know what's going on. I don't think I trust this. And now it's like I'm not, like suspicions of like I didn't really like how Six Flags was, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, this is too good to be true. And with how I've seen things, it might be. So I don't think we're gonna get the pass. Where the Thursday community is like, oh my God, it's so cheap, let's get it. Like you just have to buy it because it's so cheap, because that's our reflex. But like people that are on the outside of that, like don't have that reflex. They're like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Too many unknowns. You close this right, I think it's definitely going to be a regional thing too. Like there's some areas where, like New Jersey, I bet is not buying passes.
Jumping on that bandwagon.
Yeah. I really feel like they might be bugging at it. I don't know that for sure. I mean, you can look at it so many different ways though.
I wonder if the closing of Six Flags America is going to boost sales at Kings Dominion. Or it could go the other way. They get so pissed off about it.
Yeah, I honestly don't know.
Come on, Bob. You know everything.
Again, see that, that's another thing where, people think of DC as just like any city in America, but it's so much more complex than a typical city. Because Kings Dominion markets themselves DC sort of, but they're not really DC at all. They're Richmond.
But it's now the closest thing DC has.
Well, no. It? See, that's the thing. Where do you put DC? Because wherever you are, I think what Cedar Fair is, or Six Flags is seriously underestimating, is that this is going to drive more people to Hershey Park than it is to Kings Dominion. I think that's what I think. Now, in if you're talking like the southern areas of DC, and when I say DC, I'm talking about Metro DC. I'm not talking about the actual,
District of Columbia.
Yeah. But if you're south, maybe. Yeah, those people are probably going to know Kings Dominion. But honestly, I kind of think that a lot of the others, a lot of the other areas, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be Hershey Park.
Yeah.
But there's also the
Or
reality.
their local bowling alley.
What's that?
Or their local bowling
Yeah.
alley.
Well, see, that's the
go.
other thing. A lot of people who went to Six Flags America don't have the means to get to Hershey Park or Kings Dominion,
Yeah.
which is why I think they really, nobody really has like taken that park seriously in a way that it should have been taken.
You know.
If they would have like invested in that a little bit more, I think it could have been a great thing because it's success. I mean, that's one of the biggest arguments with Nickelodeon Universe and American Dream is like, well, yeah, it's ridiculous, but people from the city can actually get there using some form of public transportation. So that's why, like, that's what's giving them all the business that they have. Period. I think.
Yeah.
It's not going well there, but for different reasons. I don't know. I really think they're just making dumb moves all over the place. I think that's really all that can be said. This article, though, has a lot of... Now I need to find it again. A lot of interesting things. It does sound like they are really close to bankruptcy. Can't find my link because I'm blocked by one of you. Carry on for a second.
Yeah, well, he's talking about an article where talking about their park sell-offs and possible bankruptcy. And, not only this article, but other articles that we've talked about in recent episodes certainly point that way. They've got, was it next year or the year after? They've got this huge, huge balloon payment to make.
I think that was beginning of 2026 from what I remember about that.
Okay. And it doesn't look like they'll even come close to having what they need for it.
Yeah. So
I think the restructuring of this mixed with the economy downturn is not going to be
bite your
favorable.
tongue, Ryan. It's the weather.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think this merger mixed with the weather downturn, couldn't see the quotation marks there, the weather downturn, it's not going to be favorable.
No.
When people open their pocket and don't have enough weather to go to.
Yeah, I don't have enough weather in my wallet or any, I go to the weather depository and there's just not enough there.
Not enough there. My bank account is a drought right now. I'm sorry. My weather account is a drought right now.
Oh, jeez. That's good.
That is good.
I like that.
Let's use that from now on.
Six Flags is hoping.
Well, from now on, every time they come out with an article or an announcement blaming the weather,
Right.
It's not what I'm going to be thinking.
Not as we go. We're going to have to stop and say, wait a minute, are we talking about weather or weather? Which one are we talking
Is this Weather Channel or CNBC? I don't know.
Right.
So there, Dennis Spiegel is the president of International Theme Park Services, and he has some hot takes sometimes, but I think I think he's kind of spot on here on a lot of the things he's saying. He thinks that he's basically like keep 10 parks and sell everything else.
Which takes it back to pretty much what it
Right.
was before the merger with Cedar Fair.
This is the irony of this is like, it's like, oh, we're going to build this super chain. And like, now all of a sudden, I mean, ultimately, like, this is going to suck for a while. Ultimately, though, this could end up being better for the consumer in the long run. Maybe. I don't know. No, let's face
It'd be a very long ride.
It is. It's going to be a while. It's going to be a while. But like, if this turns into a scenario where it's like, we had two chains that tried to make a super chain, and then all of a sudden it ends up in 4 different chains. that might be a better scenario.
Probably
Might create
will
healthier competition.
be. Yeah, and give some other chains that would have a tougher time growing a chance to, if they can pick up some properties that they can turn around and make a profit with.
Yeah,
I don't know who they.
that's why I'm kind of second guessing myself, because it's like who's out there to
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Herschend just did a huge loan to acquire Palace, so they're probably not in the running.
I'm not sure if the Knobles family's up for it.
Probably not. But here's the thing: they're smart enough to know that and not get themselves into that kind of trouble.
See them jumping into that sort of pool.
That's actually very true.
I wonder if some of the European chains, Palace tried it in a relatively small way, but there's Merlin, who's already got a little bit going on here.
Yeah.
Wasn't Merlin trying to get out of the U.S.? Was that what?
No, they have Legoland.
That was Parque Reunidos, which was
okay.
Palace.
Yeah.
Palace was a subdivision of that company.
Yeah, I could see Merlin. I could see Merlin maybe buying some,
Picking
parks.
up something. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a lot. I mean, where are you? I mean, even just for a small portion too. Like, where are you going to get that much weather to capitalize on that?
Man,
that works good.
That works really good.
You're not talking about a storm. You're talking about a biblical flood.
I mean,
Well, except their problem is, they claim that they've had too much weather, and that's why they had to close the parks. Well, let's see. They just need the right kind of weather. They need sunny weather. Lots of sunny weather.
That's it.
God. We can get a lot of mileage out of that.
Oh yeah.
absolutely.
You need to sneak that into your YouTube channels, too.
Absolutely. They'll figure something out.
Yeah, work on it. But, okay, so if they go to bankruptcy, considering that, Six Flags has already been down that road, are they going to be... Is there a possibility you think that they'll go completely bankrupt and be just done? Or are they...
So this is what I am not a business guy. So do not quote me as saying like, oh yeah, this is a fact, because it is quite possible I don't know what the hell I'm talking about here. But
Twice in one show, Bob says, I don't know.
No, I'm gonna give you thoughts though.
Well, yeah, that's okay.
This is what the way I think this is gonna go. I think right now, like, there are park chains. Unfortunately, I'm sure United Parks is sitting there waiting. Merlin might be waiting. I don't know if Herschend will. My hope would be Herschend would grab the Michigan's Adventure and like those things, depending on how they do. See, we need to see how they're going to do first. But there are companies that are just waiting, and that's what's going to happen. Is like right now, Six Flags is like, oh, we need all the money we can get. So I feel like there's two styles of desperation. There's desperation of like sell whatever you can for whatever you can get for it. And then there's the other mode of like, oh, well, because I need money so badly, I'm going to try to wring like everything for what it's worth and try to get maximum dollar out of that. So right now, I think other chains might be like holding back. And yeah, right now, I know Six Flags is not going to sell to us at a price that we want. Then they go into bankruptcy, and now all of a sudden things change. They're forced to liquidate. The parks will go a lot cheaper, and I think that's the moment that the other chains are waiting for.
And there's precedence for that within the airline industry. I used to be involved with that, and I remember back in the day, any of you remember Eastern Airlines? Used to be a really big international airline, but when they started having bankruptcy trouble, they did a lot like what Six Flags is doing now, where they were selling off assets to the point that they really didn't have anything left. And all the other airlines are just sitting back, waiting for them to go into bankruptcy, at which point they just picked and chose what part of the company they wanted. That's how U.S. Airways, now American, ended up with a huge hub in Philadelphia, because that used to be Eastern's hub operation. Mm-hmm. Similar things happened with Pan Am and TWA when they started going under, where all the other airlines just sat back and waited until they could get it for cheap, and broke it all up.
Yep.
I see the same thing happening here.
One of my questions for all this, though, is that there's always the question, like, okay, well, who would pick this up? Who would run with it? And I'm sitting here in the turmoil of everything that's going on. It's like, does anybody actually want to pick this up?
Well, that's another question, doesn't it?
I mean, like you said, we've already actually seen a couple of different mergers out there, which are just financially exhaustive on the company. It's like, is there anybody out there that even comes close to having enough weather in their pocket to deal with this? Or is this something that's just going to be like, you know what? Yeah, Six Flags, you guys have done this a couple times before, and here it comes now. And I don't know, maybe to have something on the Cedar Fair end of it that might bail them out on that, or is it just like, nope, you guys are you're done. You know, you've done it too many times. See,
that's another reason why I think, like, from the beginning, I was shocked that they kept the Six Flags name. That, like,
yeah, but
it's a very strong name.
It is, and it's not good. Like, it's not strong, and it's a name that everybody knows, but it's not a name that everybody's like, oh yeah, Six Flags, they're a good company. No, like Cedar Fair was, and that kind of, I think back to the 17 years that I refused to go to a Six Flags park. If it was during that time and this happened, I'd be like, no, they're going to destroy Cedar Point. I'm not going to buy a pass.
Yeah.
And that's from somebody that, like, back then I didn't really know a lot. I've learned a lot more about the inner workings of things since then. But, like, you got to think the regular, just regular person is just going to go, like, this all seems bad. And then you look at the news and it's like, literally searching for, go to a news search and type in Six Flags. It's like just Six Flags is on fire. Like, that's everybody knows that Six Flags is on fire. It's not just people that like amusement parks. It's not just this community. It's everybody. Everybody knows that Six Flags is on fire. And it's funny because I've actually, people that I don't really talk to about park stuff, they know that I'm into park stuff, but I don't really talk about it. Like, I've actually had them asking me, like, what's going on with all this Six Flags stuff? It's like, they don't know. They may not know what's happening. They just know that something's happening, and
that it's not good.
Right. And it's like, well, I'm not going to, I don't care how cheap it is. You're selling me something that I don't really fully understand what I'm getting. It seems too good to be true. And we see the disaster that, like, a lot of the parks have had. Like, I could see people in Ohio being like, no, screw this. Because, like, they've gone to Cedar Point and seen, like, a lot of the downtime. Like, they've actually had, and I think that's the thing is, like, I started noticing that too. Like, even before all of this really started, I mean, Carowinds really, it's that $15 Magnum, man. That did it. Like, that was the bright red flag for me. But even before that, like, I just was like, I just don't feel like going to their parks. Kings Dominion, I was so excited. Pantherian opened. And I'm like, okay, well, I got to figure out a day. And, like, before I find a day that I'm going to go down, it's almost never operating. Like, constantly I'm seeing people like, oh, it's down today. you had the entire year.
Yeah.
Like literally the entire year. It just, and like, in my mind, I had heard, I can't confirm this, but I had heard that basically they were buying, especially like on the first day when it was really hot, they were buying the wheels, like the compound they were using was like some cheap knockoff. It wasn't the stuff that really anybody recommends using. And like, it was just chewing through wheels. And, like, if that, I could totally see that seeing that being the case. And like there was a lot of anecdotal evidence where people were showing pictures of like wheels and bits of wheels. So I think that's true. But like, where else did they cut corners? Like the uptime at Cedar Point, like we were just talking, like the worst coaster for uptime at Cedar Point in 2025. I would have swore to you it was Top Thrill 2. Nope, it was Raptor. By like a percent. Top Thrill 2.
Yeah.
And then,
still, you don't expect Raptor to be in that list,
right?
that category at all.
Right. And, I think third from the bottom was Millennium Force. So, like,
I could vouch for those rides too.
Yeah. So, like, people were going to parks and they're like, what? No, I'm not, I don't want to buy a pass. Like, you can't get your shit together this year. Like,
Even when it's running, they're not running. Like, before we were talking about this, on my way to Wisconsin, timing was right. I stopped at Cedar Point, thought I'd have dinner there and catch a couple of rides and then carry on because I wasn't going all the way through to Wisconsin that night. And got in what was a posted 45-minute wait for Top Thrill 2 because it was running, right? And you can't see the line because it's all hidden away, so you can't eyeball it to know what's going on. Well, like I said, posted 45 minutes, it was really an hour and a half. And when I looked at it, I realized, okay, here's why. It's supposed to be 3 trains. They were running 2. The ride-ups up on the platform was so poor that even with 2, they were stacking the trains. Plus, it's a dual station with an separate unload and loading area. But they get the unloading train empty, and it would sit there while they waited to finish loading the other train.
What was taking so long?
Just apathy, just kind of going through, doing their thing.
That's the thing.
Whatever. And then the fast lane line had way too many people in it, and they were, half filling up every train with those people. And so the regular line was just completely screwed for getting on. And, who knows why the third train was sitting there, but I'll bet no valid reason when you got that kind of a line building up. Who knows what it was by the time I left the park, because it was just getting longer and longer, and it was already twice as long as they posted.
That's no good.
Yeah.
That's no good at all.
I think that's the thing that Six Flags is really missing. And it's something that traditionally Cedar Fair was really good at until Zimmerman. They're like, it's those little unmentionable things. What affects your park experience? You can't always quantify that on statistics and like, okay, well, if we do this and we spend this here and this here, like, it doesn't work that way. You have to experience it yourself. Do either of you know who Temple Grandin is?
It sounds familiar, but I can't place it. She's
an autistic woman, very autistic, that she's very involved in animal care and humane treatment of animals, but she's written multiple books. There was a book that I read, actually listened to, but it's called Animals in Translation, and she explains in this, she actually does a lot of work with meat packing plants, and basically in ways of making it humane for how they this one story she told jumped out at me in a lot of ways. But she was at this one processing plant where they could never get the cows to go in through the troughs, and they years they were trying things and trying things and trying things. And like, no, like they just couldn't figure it out. Like, and they had no idea why. They called her in as a consultant. She literally got down on her hands and knees and started walking around like on all fours, like a cow.
Yeah.
And it took her just like 10 minutes or so. And she like looked up and she said, I may not have this exactly right, but I think it was an exhaust fan. And she pointed at the exhaust fan and she said, that right there, that's what's doing it.
Scaring him.
And they got rid of this exhaust fan, or they moved it somewhere else, and everything was fine.
Wow.
But like people who knew, like they were so highly educated in their engineering of these plants. They, for years they worked on this. And here comes this lady that literally all she does is just like, okay, put my mind, I gotta be a cow. Put my mind, what am I thinking as a cow? And I think that's the problem that we're having now is like the management at Six Flags, they have no idea what it's like to be a guest in their parks. Not the slightest little clue. Nothing. True. They don't understand how much of an impact it is to have to deal with a locker. Mm-hmm. And like I honestly, now it's really the cost. But like the challenge of like dealing with the lockers when you're with small kids at a park, it's difficult. It's so much easier to just drop a bag in a bin. Like incredibly easier, because while you're dealing with trying to get the locker, make the payment and stuff like that, you've got a kid or two that are like wanting to go somewhere, and oftentimes they do.
Yeah.
Yes.
As we'll talk about later, actually.
Yes, there's a monorail around.
But like that's the thing. It's like, okay, well, back then it was like it was the nuisance of it. But like there's I think guests are willing to give up things that are reasonable, but to an extent. And it just seems like every aspect of going to a Six Flags Parks to me is just like, this is not optimal. This is just like this is a bad exhaust fan that needs moved, and nobody who thinks they know what they're doing is realizing it. I'd rather them raise the price of a ticket than have to deal with lockers and being nickel and dimed in the park. Like, I don't want to have to deal with this stuff. I just want to like get through the gate and I'm good to go. I don't want, food. That's always going to be a thing. But like, I don't want to, nothing else. I don't want to have to, if it's not food or souvenir, I don't have to deal with it. And you do.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of those little things that just compound on each other and make it an overall bad experience. And when you say, why was that a bad experience? You get that exact type of, it's like, well, you can't exactly pinpoint like one thing that made it a bad experience.
Yeah,
it was
just experience.
It's just a collective. It's just kind of like everything. Well, what was your one thing that really sucked? It's like, well, not really one thing. It's like,
right, yeah.
And then you can't think about it, but it's like everything sucked. Like I go to parks all the time and it's like, or up in line, it's like I'm next one in, or heck, maybe I'm even on the train. And there's the operators up there like filling out paperwork and trying to decide who's the next person that's going to go on lunch. And it's like they're sitting there talking about it for 3 or 4 minutes. And I'm just like, you guys can't be a little more organized than this? Like it should be one person saying like, okay, you're the next person to go on lunch.
Yeah. Like, where's the supervisor saying like, yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Why do we have to stop operation for 5 minutes while you guys figure out who the next person is to take a break?
I think that's actually, I think that kind of goes into labor too. I think I think a gut reaction might be like, oh, well, yeah, you're not getting the best quality employees, but I think it's more than that. I think it's that you're not getting enough employees. And like in that aspect, like, okay, right, where's the supervisor? Well, maybe there is one supervisor in charge of like a huge section of the park. And they don't have time to deal with telling people like, here's going to be your lunch. And, because they have so much on their plate where really there should be, whatever that one supervisor is in charge of should be maybe ran by 3 or 4 different supervisors, and like, that's what really, this is what it always comes down to. It's labor. Everything always comes down to labor. And, number crunchers are like, oh, we got to cut labor. But they don't understand that the more you cut labor, the worse the experience is, because you're putting too much on a single employee. You're upsetting employees. You're stressing them out to the point where they just shut off and they're just like, yeah, we see it a lot. Apathetic ride-ops. I get it. And I it's like, you almost can't blame them. They're getting paid crap, dealing with horrible scenarios. Like seasonal employees, like they're not getting paid overtime. They're probably being charged to stay in a dorm. Like all of these things, like, yes, I could see them just being like, I don't, I just don't care, Mm-hmm. And it all comes down to that labor. You can't cut labor. You just can't do it.
But that's usually the first place they run to.
It is because it's the most expensive. And like, that's the difference. Like, Greg, you were talking about like, apathetic write-offs and stuff. And like, on Top Thrill 2, that was the thing about Cedar Point. You go back 10 years, everybody at Cedar Point was having a great time. Like, it was hard to find an employee that was apathetic. They all were really enjoying their jobs. And that was back when management cared. They cared about how their employees felt. They cared about how their guests felt. And now it's all just focused on, when it really makes me wonder, like, when was the last time Zimmerman was actually in any of the parks?
Oh,
like,
and I'll bet you the board of directors, most of them have probably never been in a park.
Right. And certainly not there while the park's open.
Yeah.
They know how much they're hated, probably. But,
yeah.
So, when I was working at the park, it was, it was Jim Reed Anderson was in charge at the time. And he would all the time come to the park unannounced. That was his thing. He loved doing unannounced visits. The only person that would know would be the park president, the person who was in charge of the park. And it was told under very strict orders not to let anybody know. But when he showed up, there was not the pomp and circumstance or anything. The park president literally drove to the airport, picked him up in his car, not a limo or nothing else.
Yeah.
Drove him to the park, and he went out unescorted in regular clothes and just spent 5 or 6 hours in the park by himself. The park president, meantime, was sweating bullets in his office because he was under super strict orders not to tell anybody. And I mean, he had to go out in disguise because he was actually very well known. Everybody knew what he looked like. Everyone,
Oh yeah, because he was on every commercial. Like, there's still memes about him on the commercials.
Right. But he was extremely nice, extremely approachable, and he knew everybody's name. So it was like, when you're that type of person, it's like, how do you blend in? So he literally had to go out in disguise, and he went into the park, and then he would come back after a couple hours and give the president basically a report about the things that he liked and plenty of things that he didn't like. But that's what he would go ride on rides. He would go to the concession stands and buy stuff. Like, not, and there wasn't the pomp and circumstance surrounding him.
Yeah.
So he was trying as hard as he could to get the real experience.
Well,
he would
that's the
listen
thing,
to guests in line talk. That was his favorite thing to do. He would just listen to people.
That's where you're going to get the truth.
That's where you get the truth. And that's one of my biggest takeaway from that big 5 park trip I did recently. Every park I went to, you can hear just people just gripe and complain in line, except for Knoebels.
Yep.
Yeah.
I did not hear it in line in Knoebels. People were just having a good time. I was like, wow.
That's the magic of Knoebels.
Yeah.
And you really don't understand it until you're there. You can
Right.
you can talk about it all you want.
Yeah. That was...
I suppose if you describe Knoebels to someone who has no clue, yeah, you park in a grass. It's not even paved. And gravel walkways.
Yep.
And the rides are really old. They're like from when I was a kid.
Right.
And, if you describe it like that, you're going to think it's the worst possible place in
Right.
the world, when in fact it's the best.
Like, because you could describe, and like most people would instantly picture some sort of old broken down carnival land area.
Right.
They're
And
just
it's
like,
not
what?
Yeah.
like that at all.
No.
Everything is
I mean,
maintained
it is, but
perfectly.
it's not.
And
Because that's
well,
a
yeah,
weird thing.
it is in all the right ways.
Right.
Right.
It's yeah.
Yeah.
So, what do you
yeah.
guys honestly? What do you guys think is going to happen with Six Flags? Like, do you think they're going to sell parks?
God.
And what parks?
They're going to sell parks. They're going to sell land around parks. They're already, making
Oh yeah,
clear
that
they're
was
going to sell
another
land
thing.
around Kings Dominion.
Kings Dominion. There's
Yeah. So they're going to cut off any possibility of growth. Or expansion, like maybe is a better word, but what parks? I think you're right that they'll go into bankruptcy and they'll divest themselves of all but their top 10 parks. It's going to be right back to basically.
I mean, now before pre-bankruptcy, what do you think? Do you think they'll put parks up for sale, and which ones? I think
Before
they're-
bankruptcy?
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're going to get a sale.
I
but-
personally think you would see a couple of parks go up for sale in, I'm just going to use a term, in a target-rich environment, which is going to be places where there are currently a lot of parks next to each other. So where you have multiple parks within, I'm going to say probably like a 3-hour radius of, when you have multiple parks hitting inside that 3-hour radius, or parks that are just absolute clone cookie cutters where they just don't do anything. They don't spike in attendance or anything like that. There's nothing there. It's like, okay, get rid of some of your clone parks, some of your cookie cutters, high dollar parks that have weird things inside of them. Animal parks. Water parks are always the first thing to go to.
No,
Almost
see,
every
that's the
time it's
thing.
water parks.
I think it's. I think with this, it's going to be the complete opposite. In fact,
they'll keep the water parks.
Yeah, because they. I think this is kind of a trend. If you look at like what they've done for 2026, it's all. I think it's all water park announcements. If they're doing it, there's a couple water park announcements for 2026, I believe. I can't
Because
remember
it's
the first,
a
but, like-
relatively cheap investment
Yes,
to put in
it's
a
cheap.
water slide.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Water slides are cheaper than big rides.
And with our, 90-degree summers that we're having the past couple of years, the water parks are the hot commodity, I guess. But I don't know. I don't think it's enough. They're not nearly as big usually as the dry parks to pull in that same size crowd.
Yeah, the attendance is definitely not there at a water park compared to a dry park. So it's like, yeah, everything's cheaper, but your attendance numbers are much lower. Because you got two problems. One is typically you can't get enough people in there because it becomes a safety issue going around there, and then you're talking about the bather load inside the pools is off the charts. So you're talking about so many chemicals and use of chlorine cells and things like that in order to treat the water properly. It's like your operating costs start jumping up really quick.
Even so, though, do you think it's? I don't think it's going to be more than operating a ride.
I don't think it's more than operating a ride, but when you have your ride operating, with X amount of people per ride, but you can't really do that in a water park because it's not, you don't really have that throughput on each thing. That's
Yeah, a lot of
like,
those
yeah,
things
this is
are
what
one
it
person
is.
at a time.
That's where water parks, though. I was kind of waiting for that because that's one of my biggest frustrations is like, yeah, you have to wait in long lines for but the thing is, I don't know how to put this. When you're at a water park, at least for me, you're not necessarily checking things off like you are in a dry park. Like, oh, I want to ride that, I want to ride that, I want to ride that, I want to ride that. It's I'm swimming. And occasionally like, oh, let's go ride that. But then go back to swimming. And then ride another ride. So I think that's like, while the lines are annoying, as long as you're not in, well, I guess this is the other problem with Six Flags is they don't shade stuff. But like, as long as you're not in the beating sun, lines don't really, I don't know, lines never really bothered me that much in a water park unless it was like in direct sunlight. Like that, just because of like, there just wasn't that like, you know, like you go to Cedar Point and it's like you rush yourself. I got to get to the next ride. I got to get, and I've never felt that in a water park because it's like, yeah, it's just water slides and stuff. I'll try that one, but it's not that important,
right?
You know, I'll just, you know, water coasters are probably the only thing that are like, oh, we have to ride that, you know. But others are just like, I'll try that slide, or you know. But like, you look at like Geauga Lake. They kept the water park long after they closed the dry park. There's a reason.
I just remember from the first time around or the last time around with Six Flags when they did the bankruptcy. Granted, you said pre-bankruptcy, but like when they did the bankruptcy, it's like if it wasn't a water park attached to the physical park, it was gone.
They got rid of it. Yeah.
Yep. And then they got rid of so many of their smaller parks that weren't doing much out there.
It also makes me wonder, though,
Michigan's Adventure and
is it that they were like, oh, we got to dump the water parks, or was it that the water parks were the easiest to sell?
That's
either way. They did this. They got rid of them. You know,
right? But but the point may be the point I'm trying to make in that is like, okay, well, it's cheaper to sell. Like there's. And people want to run water parks because it is profitable. So like whenever they go up, you know, they go into bankruptcy. It's like, oh, well, we can unload these quick and for a good price.
We should buy a water park, the three of us.
Oh, okay, all right,
yeah, right.
Like, do you have your hand in that lotto money already? Like, what's going on?
No, I
here?
just got maybe some weather's coming along. Maybe some weather's coming along.
There's a hurricane coming.
Yeah. No, we need good weather.
Now we know where the name Hurricane Harbor came from. It's all that Monica, all that weather coming in.
Right. Well, I mean, so out by where I used to live, it was the water park out there was a Six Flags Hurricane Harbor in Concord. That was close to us. And when they went bankrupt, they let go of that first. They let go of that one. They're like, nope, they got rid of that. But what you're saying, you're like, people want to operate them, all this, but no one ever purchased that park. That became the city's. The city had to take it over because no one would purchase the park. So the city ran it for the longest time until they had this sucker come along and buy it back. It was Six Flags.
They got a lot for it.
That's interesting.
Like 5 or 6 years after they sold it off or got rid of it, like they just purchased it right back again.
I tend to think
it seems to work a lot like credit card debt. You know, if you get a lot on credit card debt and you're just drowning in credit card debt, and it's like, oh, suddenly just hands you a bunch of money to pay it all off. Did you learn your lesson? No, you're going to put it all right back on there again.
Yeah,
because you never learned how to manage it. You're just going to flood it right back in there, and you'll be right back in the same exact spot later on.
And here we are, third time around?
Right. Third time's a charm, right?
And fourth bankruptcy, though, right? Or no, I guess no. The Premier thing wasn't a bankruptcy, but they did have a bankruptcy that didn't result in a sale. I think in 2009, they recovered from that bankruptcy. Six Flags, Legacy Six Flags. But then
that sounds about right.
Yeah, so this would be the third bankruptcy.
Yeah, that's why in my head I've got this is the third one.
Yeah,
or this might be the third one.
Yeah,
because we don't know for sure.
I think a lot of people are saying like Michigan's Adventure will go, but I think from what I've heard, that's like a cash cow to them because there's nothing around it. But like you said, they're probably looking at the ones that are like, closer to something else.
Yeah, this was one of an early speculation for getting rid of Great Adventure and Discovery Kingdom. They're both in the same exact boat because they have animals. Animals cost a ton of money to maintain. Mm-hmm. You think amusement parks were expensive, put animals inside of them, and it like quadruples the cost of running that park. Like, it is ridiculous. Because, I've heard people, you just feed the animals. It's like, it's not all that stuff.
No.
It's
medical
all the
care and all that stuff that goes with it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just a vet, it's not just food. It's there's so much that goes into it. They have to keep them to the same standard as a zoo because they pretty much are a zoo at that point in time.
Yeah.
There's so much that goes into that cost. It's astronomical.
Well, so then for Discovery Kingdom and Great Adventure, the animals go. I'm surprised that isn't already being announced at Great Adventure because at least there, the animals are sequestered from the dry park, whereas at Discovery Kingdom, they're interspersed. So it's a little harder to deal with that. And then you have all these empty animal enclosures all scattered around the park. That doesn't look good.
Right.
But, I'd be surprised if the animals stay around much longer at either of them, but especially Great Adventure.
I don't see.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Great Adventure, they could just bring in like another operator in.
I could
and kind of like just seclude that part and say like, oh, there we go. It's a separate thing. It's not us anymore.
Yeah.
I have a concern about Great Adventure. I mean, that's probably the wrong term. I think Great Adventure is going to be a point of interest in how things play out. Because like it's the one park that I could see really going both ways of like, I think there's an argument to be made of them dumping it, and I think there's an argument to be made for them retaining it. And, just seeing what like they got rid of so much from it, I think the morale of the locals is down. And there is the animal aspect there too. There's just like, there's a lot of things where I could just see them saying like, we're done, like we screwed it up. Somebody else can have it or buy it, but then there's also like, well, what's it in proximity to? Like, it is kind of a high, it always was a high volume park. So can we turn it around? There could be that like, we could turn it back into something good, but then again, that costs money and they don't want to spend money. Well, they can't spend money. So I don't know. It's going to be a long couple of years for sure. The one other thing that was mentioned in this, which we've already kind of hinted at multiple times, is the direct call out of like they just keep saying it's the weather, and there was I need to find it here, but there was a number. Oh, maybe it's not in this one. Okay, I think we have to add another one. Now I don't know where I read it. I swear I read it.
Well, you can find it later.
Oh, here, yeah. This other article is mentioning like we talked about the one lawsuit. Well, apparently there's 2 lawsuits now.
Oh yeah,
for
there are 2
shareholders
lawsuits now.
So, and that's all been, part of the, like lying, like outright lying. And it's, I can't find the exact line, but they basically called it out as like you're late. I think it was 2024, I think was like, I think it was like in the teens of the number of days that they couldn't operate for weather, and in 49 days lost due to extreme conditions this year. So
extreme conditions,
right? And that's the thing is like I think this is like a. I think they might be smarter than they're actually showing right now, because I think they may have thought of all of this. Like, oh yeah, let's just keep closing parks, and then when the shit hits the fan, we can say, but it was the weather. We couldn't do anything. It wasn't our fault that the sun was shining and the gentle breeze was blowing and birds were chirping. Like that, it's not our fault. What do you expect us to do? We can't run a park like that.
Yeah.
Well, there's the other extreme, where instead of charging as little as you can for the passes, you charge as much as you can.
Yeah, that's the weird thing is, though, as you read this article, it's like, wait, a lot of that sounds like Six Flags. So, one interesting thing in this article that I read was it seems to indicate that we had talked of how they were getting rid of the early entry and they were given lightning lane. This article seems to indicate that is just a one-time use thing at Disney.
We're giving them whiplash, though. We have moved on from Six Flags.
Right. We have not. I'm jumping the gun
We're not
here.
talking about Disney.
Sorry.
Right.
Yes.
That's all right. Moving along.
Yes.
Disney news.
Yeah.
Yes. Not much better.
What do we have from the Disney desk?
Yes. Sorry.
What are we gluing Muppets onto today?
See, I thought that all the listeners could read my mind. I'm sorry. That's mistaken. No.
No.
Now I lost my train of thought.
Well,
see, that was it. I had to jump on the train.
Is reinforcing what we've been saying for a while now about how Disney is abandoning middle-class travelers, and it's the playground for the rich, and that's what they want it to be.
Yep. Because they are a destination theme park. And the difference between a destination park and a regional park is the regional park, when the economy turns down and people are having trouble making ends meet, the regional park says, hey, let's offer sales, let's get people in the front gate, we'll offer discounts, all this other stuff. Regional parks, they say or destination parks, people say your tickets are too expensive, and they just say, we'll wait till you can afford it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like there's a quote in here where it's like it was, I can't find the quote right now, but it was basically like Disney was supposed to be like more but affordable. Like,
yes, that was Walt's intention.
Right. Like it wasn't something you do every year, but like it was accessible to everybody. You might have had to work a little bit for it, but it was accessible. And now it's kind of getting to this point where it just isn't accessible to a lot, probably most Americans, I would think. Like, some people have their. You got to also remember, like, the average person doesn't know how to deal with things and optimize things in the park. Like, what often happens, you say something in a like roller coaster or theme park community is like, you say something is like, well, but, you know, and it's like everything that they say is based on their experience and how they deal with it. And I think that's the thing is like, you know, when you're in the industry or in the communities, it's like, okay, well, we know how to work the system to try to get some of that savings in there, but the average American doesn't. It's, you know,
Right.
Mm-mm.
The thing I was talking about before, it just came back to me because I found it. We had mentioned, I don't know if it was last show or 2 shows ago, but we talked about how Disney was getting rid of the early access for hotel guests, and we're giving them Lightning Lane instead. This article seems to indicate that Lightning Lane that they're given is just for one ride, period. With the basically, it's like, you know, first one's free type scenario. Is like, oh, wasn't that great? You could pay for that, and you know, which I think is I think that's where the parallel comes in. Is like you've got Disney that's okay, we're destination and we're like now like at a higher class, but Six Flags is the same for the middle class. They're both nickel and diming, and that I think that's one of the biggest things. It's like, you know, you put that on paper and you're like, oh, it's not that bad. But when you're experiencing it, it is. It's a lot worse than it looks on paper. Because everywhere you turn, you're being reminded of, you know, I have to spend money. And, you know, it's an interesting thing of like how sometimes like you look at some of the things that they've come out with. It's like, oh, well, look at, you know, you can get, you know, all season dining plans and stuff like that. It's like is it a good deal? To a lot of people, yes, it is. But the motivation behind that isn't like, oh, well, let's give them a good deal. It's by doing this, we guarantee food sales. You're adding it to your pass. Like they're guaranteeing extra income because a lot of people that have the dining plan may not spend that much. They may just not. They may be like, "Oh, we're just not going to eat at the parks. We'll leave," you know. And I think that's the thing is you generally have that where like locals will more often leave the park to eat because there's not that like, oh, well, we have to milk every hour out of the day. You know, if you're going on a trip, you're going to eat in the park because you want to get through everything. So like the locals who were really geared towards the dining plan, what's actually happening is you're actually kind of like getting them to come to the park is like, oh, I can eat for free, yeah, but like you're also going to spend $15 on a locker, you know, and whatever else
$15 on a sticker.
Yes. You know, but like that's the thing is that we get them into the park. So like, you know, the local visitor may not buy food in the park, but what if we took all of your money at the beginning of the year? You know, and that's the thing is it's like it's not like, oh, well, you know, our costs have gone up, so we're going to raise the price because that, you know, obviously but I mean, that's happening anyway for them. Well, not right now with the sell, but like, I don't know. It's just like, I think I think the people that like cruises, I've never been on a cruise, full disclosure, but like in listening to anybody tell me about a cruise, I've kind of gathered the thing that people like about cruises is they pay their money, they get on the boat, and they don't have to spend another dime. They don't have to worry about, and that is completely the opposite of what theme parks are right now. Most, yeah, like it just,
True.
You're nickel and dimed everywhere, and it's not reasonable like Knoebels. Knoebels, you don't have to trick me into going to eat there. If I lived by the park, I'd be eating there, period.
Yeah.
It's good. It is reasonably priced. And, you know, yeah, you don't trick me. I'll gladly spend money at a theme park. I will gladly buy stuff. Quit trying to trick me. Quit trying to wring me for all I'm worth. Because when you start making me feel that way, I just say I'm done. Which is why I'm not getting it. I don't MVP cell be damned. I'm not getting a Six Flags pass next year. I don't know what's happening. And somehow we got back to Six Flags from Disney.
Yeah, it's just too irresistible for you.
Yeah.
I don't even know how that happened.
So on the Disney front, back in like 2004 or something like that was the last time in Disneyland I bought a premium season pass. This was the top of the line, the most, it did everything. I love that premium season pass. That was amazing. But that was the last time I purchased it. It was $375.
Oh, it's what, $1,200 now?
If you can get one.
Oh.
So my brother just recently purchased a season pass, and I'm like, oh, 'cause you just went out and got one, and it's like, no, you have to get on the list. I'm like, the list is like, yeah, because there's a limited amount of season passes available at every tier. And it's like, oh, which tier did you get? Pretty much the lowest one where it blacks out almost every single date. And yeah, it still cost him like $1,000 something per pass to get that.
Whoa.
And he had to be on a waiting list and be there. And like as soon as his time opened up, he had to like jump on it and like purchase it right there on the spot. And
Is it
it's just like I don't even know how to buy a season pass these days from Disney if I wanted to. Right?
Yeah.
Right. Is that like, with season passes for I don't know, football games and stuff, where once you get on it, you can keep going with it? Or does he have to go through that every year where he may or may not get one?
Once you get on it, you could just renew it.
Renew it, okay.
Yeah. But the first time getting into it, you have to get on a list to wait for it.
This is all by design, because now if you have a season pass, you're afraid to get rid of it.
Right.
It's true.
Yep.
That is very true.
God, these companies just milk us for everything. Like, the trick is everywhere. It's ridiculous.
This is where you go back to just do the Knoebels, free parking, free entry, and then you go ticket-based operations.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, as long as you got somebody keeping the place honest, that they're not bypassing safety systems to keep seats up and running, because that's what a lot of traveling operators get into. As long as you don't do something shady like that, it's a great system.
Yeah, it really is.
Go back to the ABCDE tickets at Disney. Yes, I'm old enough to remember that.
Would be interesting to do. But then they'd be, oh, here's your ABCDE. It's like, oh, I want those E tickets. It's like, great. Well, you want the E or the E plus? Or the E plus plus? They would do that. Because we'll sell you the E plus plus
then there will be an F, because that's what they did. When Disney first opened, they didn't have an E ticket. I think they only had A, B, and C. And then as they added more sophisticated rides, they added the D and eventually E tickets. So then they'll have an F ticket.
Yeah. Eventually they always find a way to make more money off of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is the problem. We could go to that, but when you still have that if you still have that corporate mentality, it's still going to just enshitify. Yeah. And which, by the way, enshitification has now been added to the dictionary. Did you guys see that?
Really?
Yes.
No.
I actually Cory Doctorow himself on Mastodon was actually he actually posted it. Like, Merriam-Webster actually added it. He's the guy that coined it.
Really?
Yeah. Which the geek in me is kind of excited about that. It is. It's a real thing now. I swear. Shitification is real. If you can't see it around you, now it's in the dictionary.
Oh, the lightning lane pass thing is even worse. It's not just a, single lightning lane pass per day. It's per visit. So instead of having daily early entry because you were a hotel guest, you get one lightning lane pass for your entire stay.
Really? So if you buy a 5-day vacation package,
you're still only
get it
getting
for one.
One.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's one day. I don't know. It could be either way then. So yeah, if you're on a 5-day vacation, even if it is like multiple ride thing, it's only for one day at max.
Yeah, it's a little hard to know that, but they're very specifically hard to know that from where this article is worded.
Right, yeah.
But they do very specifically say that whatever this deal is, it's per visit, not per day.
Yep. And it's basically a motive to get you to buy the rest.
Yeah. And to do the whole shebang lightning experience can be $400 a person.
That's the thing I think that's the thing that just, it's not so much Disney's ticket price, which is bad, but it's like, okay, if you just do your Disney vacation, you get your tickets and you go, it's going to be a miserable experience. You don't know what's going on. You're going to wait in lines. You're probably going to get on maybe 2-3 attractions.
For sure.
So
I wonder.
Then when you add that in, and that's the problem is you're planning this vacation. You're budgeting for this vacation that, whatever the modern day equivalent of a travel agent is, this is your price and that's what you budget for. And then you get to the park and you're like, oh, but for us to actually have a good time, we have to pay $2,000 more, or $3,000 or whatever more for the whole family to have Lightning Lane. And that's the situation where you get into where people go away saying, "This is horrible. I'm not doing this again." And that's how you lose your repeat visitors. People just aren't coming back. They had a bad experience. They're like, "Oh, I was nickel and dimed. All these hidden charges I didn't plan for. Now I'm in debt because I used a credit card to pay for Lightning Lane, after saving all this money to come to this, this place, now I'm going home and for the next year or whatever, I'm going to be looking at that credit card bill, trying to pay it down. And I'm going to remember for a year about that time, that 1 week. And, people just don't want to repeat it. And it's a lot of those things, and I think that's why parks don't, they don't really think much about when they get rid of a major ride. Like for Kingda Ka, it was like, whatever, people are going to be mad, but they're still going to come back. And they do, they always do. But when things just start becoming miserable, that's when they don't come back.
Right.
You could keep Kingda Ka and let the operations of the park just plummet. People still aren't going to come back or come back as much. And, that's where this vicious cycle goes. And businesses never seem to really pull out of it. Once they get into that, that line item, start cutting costs. And, it's crazy. Disney's doing it. Six Flags is doing it. God knows United Parks is doing it. They started this all.
Yeah. I really feel like way back when, I would love to go back in time and change things, but I feel like way back when we basically opened Pandora's box when we started introducing fast passes and fast lanes.
Oh, absolutely.
It was such an awesome thing. And even when the fast pass came to Disneyland, it was just, I was so amazed and I was like, oh, good job, guys. This is an incredible thing. Why haven't we done this earlier? But it's like we didn't understand the far-reaching implications that this was going to have over the years, to where we have now, we've bred almost a third amusement park into the other amusement parks. You want to go to an amusement park, that's fine. You want access to the actual amusement park, you got to pay for that. And once you get in there, it's like, you really want access to those rides? Now you have to pay for this.
Right, yeah. It's like
what?
It's like, do you want Hulu with commercials or Hulu without commercials?
Right.
Pay the extra.
Yeah.
I mean, and yeah, I still to this day think that it wasn't even so much the fast lane concept. It was the unlimited fast lane. That's the key, because I love the idea of everybody having a shot to go skip a line or skip. I love the way Dollywood and Hershey used to do it, where you got a punch card. You bought your card and you had one pass on each of the coasters.
Yeah.
And that was it. And the thing
even the
about
way-
it was, like, when you got into that fast lane, you went right on the ride. There was no
Right.
waiting. It did what it was supposed to do.
And that's the way it was with the original fast lanes at the Disney parks, where you had to get that little coupon at the kiosk to get on it at a certain time frame, and you couldn't get another one until that one was used up or hit some sort of marker. So it was regulated. It was everybody gets everything all day long kind of stuff. And so you did just walk through the line and onto the ride because it was managed. It wasn't, everybody had the opportunity to do that because it wasn't an upcharge, but it wasn't everybody on all the rides all day long.
Yeah. And I'm not even against an upcharge for like the old style, not unlimited, just one ride on each ride.
Well,
but we're not going to see it because now like Brian said, it's Pandora's box.
Yeah.
Like it's not going back in. Companies are making tons of money, and if you take it away, there's so many people would be like, "Oh, took away my unlimited fast lane." There's so much of like looking at things from a single point of view. It's like I've always had, I've been in those situations where I'm a single guy at a park, just there by myself. I've been there with kids. I've been there with an entire family. Like I've been in multiple situations, and things change. And I don't really know where I was going with that, but people just like they get in their lane and they don't see outside of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, how about we talk about the story that's been out there more than any other story this week?
So much.
This is crazy. When I first saw the video, it was like just this kid walking on the monorail track at Hershey.
Yeah, he'd have most likely been fine if everybody hadn't started shouting different directions to him and got him all confused and upset.
Immediately, as soon when I the first time I watched this video, as soon as I saw him hold his ears, I knew exactly that was overstimulation. He's
that was the point at which he was in more trouble than he had been the whole time. He was up there.
He was in more danger at that point because he's freaking out, and the crowd's shouting like the Price is Right. Go this way, go that way, go there. Like there was no cohesive. Like people were just shouting like whatever, and that's one of the things. Ryan and I have a difference of opinion, and I realized that this section of Hershey Park, I can't, for some reason, my brain doesn't jive it all together. But I was thinking it was about like 400 or 500 feet from like the nearest point where that was on ground. But I think, Ryan, you said you thought it was a lot less.
I thought it was probably in maybe the 200-foot range. I mean, I could pull it up on Google Maps.
I know. What's going to happen when you go? If somebody goes to Hershey Park and sees somebody rolling out a tape measure,
I'm going to have to look up. I'm going to be at Hershey on Saturday, so I'm going to have
Saturday.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to study that video to look. What building was that?
He's right over the. I don't know if they still do, but that's where they sell the king size milkshakes.
Okay.
That's that building. And that's the weird thing is like I'm thinking of walking down that hill like by the entrance to the monorail and Music Box Theater, and like I'm not kidding you, like though after we had that conversation, Ryan, that whole night my brain just was not like I don't have a picture of where, like I know what it looks like walking past the monorail. I know what it looks like walking past that little kiddie section. But it took me so long to remember, which one comes first? Which one's
right? Yeah, because the monorail's right on the side of that big building from the station, and then he was basically over where it says it's the Simply Chocolate ice cream, which is right by the Minty Bees, by the Misfit Bug. So I mean. it doesn't look like that far. That's why I was going to see it. Like, oh, let me see if I can map this real quick.
Yeah,
because I have that.
I mean, I think the nearest ground point is the station. Like that's just where it's going to be. Come to think of it, it doesn't really hit the ground anywhere other than the station. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't even have a place outside the park where it used to let you off at the old factory.
Oh, did it used to do that?
Park employees used to use that as transportation going to the park on their lunch break or after hours.
Huh. Maybe I knew that and forgot. I don't know.
Yeah, it used to be a station out there.
Wait, they changed. Those are minty bees now?
Dang it, Bob, you're right. All right, when I put the area into a wireframe and then I overlay Google's measuring tools on top of it from the ice cream shop to the monorail station, it comes out at 315 feet.
So we kind of were both. It was between both of us, actually.
But it's weird because if you also like remove those sections and draw a straight line between the monorail and that ice cream shop, it's only 100 feet. So am I using the tool right?
Wait, so it was the Simply Chocolate building?
Yeah, the Simply.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I see where it is on the map now. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to have to go there and check it out on Saturday.
We've got to be the only podcast talking about. There's a kid. Well, how far away from the station was he? That's all that really matters.
We're pretty sad, aren't we? The news is slow this week.
Yeah. Anyway, it's kind of a cool video to watch. The guy that actually jumped up on the track to get him actually is interviewed in the video on the link in the show notes. But I love that at the end he says he's being interviewed and he's like, everything calms down, and he's like, at that moment was when my wife showed up and looked up and saw me on the track, and she was just like, John.
Yeah, especially if she knows he has a fear of heights. I'm sure it's a real shock.
You know what else was interesting about that is that I never thought of the other side of that person jumping up there, because I was just like, okay, they got up there, and then someone contacted me that was in the area on that day, and they said there's no access to the top of that building except for this pole on the side of it. Not like right up against it, but like 2.5 feet away from it, there's some sort of like a wood beam or something like that sitting there.
Oh, in the interview, the guy said he got up on a fence to get up on the building.
He basically climbed up there somehow. So there was no ladder or anything to get up there. Right. He had to freehand climb something to get up there. Just like, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
It is.
It's crazy what you can do when your adrenaline's going.
Boy, that is true.
But yeah, the kid was fine. Everything was fine. It was a boy that just kind of wandered off, and he was reported missing to the staff. And yeah, everything's fine. It's an interesting story.
It is. It really is. That is such a weird thing. I'm glad nothing happened with the kid, because like you said, Bob, that was the overwhelming part for him was probably when he was in the most danger. And luckily the ride wasn't on, because when that one guy jumped up to help him, if that monorail was in motion somewhere, that means that metal rail that he stepped on would have been live.
Yeah.
And those systems are typically like 400 volts. They're a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could have got real bad.
If it had been running, then there'd have been attendance in the station, so the kid never would have got on.
Yeah,
in the first
I think
place.
that's true too.
It's true.
It does make me wonder though, like, I mean, he must have just walked up that ramp. there have been times where I've accidentally started walking up that ramp not paying attention because it kind of sits out in the middle, like kind of. So like if you're walking along the side and you're just like talking, you're like, oh yeah, just walk up the ramp and, which kind of makes me wonder if that's like, he got up there and he was like, oh,
So we almost saw you walking along the monorail at one point or another.
It could have happened.
Bob wouldn't stop, however. He'd be going for the full credit on that one. Yeah. I'm going all the way around. I'm going.
I'm going to Zoo America. I don't know about you guys.
Right.
They wouldn't let me in through the gate, so.
Well.
No, this is honestly like if I ever got away from my parents, like this really is kind of the thing that I probably would have ended up doing.
Yeah, a lot of the comments people always made was like, "Where were the parents? Why weren't the parents there? What were the parents doing?" And it's like, if I've been around a lot of lost kids, and if you've never lost a kid as well. That's why I'm very lenient about it. Like it happens so fast.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And when it happens, it is not like you turn around. It's like, oh, where'd my kid go? And then you look over 5 feet and go, there they are.
Yeah, no, it's not like that at all.
All right. It's completely way off,
That's a lot of like Reddit now. I think it's literally all like preteens and teens. Like I think that's the bulk of the online coaster community is kind of that. So it's like everything is focused on this. Like they've never had to care for a child. They've never really done anything with children, and it's just like it's just like knee jerk. Like well, it's the parents' fault. Like it's not that simple.
Have I ever told you about the lost kid incident at Indiana Beach that I witnessed?
No.
Oh God.
Indiana Beach, huh?
Yeah, it was at sort of the far end of it from the main entrance. It's kind of long, and then it has that dog leg to where you go to get to Steel Hog and all that stuff. Well, and it's down by where they have the pool and their version of a water park, which also means it's at the end of the Skyway. And all of that stuff there. And I'm sitting there having lunch at this table, and I notice that there are these panicked parents and the police. And I don't mean park security. I mean the police.
Yeah.
And, mom's distraught and, the whole scene that you can probably imagine. And you can overhear them realize, okay, there's a kid, not one, but two kids are lost.
Ooh.
And a few seconds after I realized what was going down, the mom screamed and pointed up at the Skyway, and here were these two kids coming in for a landing from the Skyway, and they're like, "What?" And and they didn't know why mom was so upset. They didn't know why dad was looking like he was going to strangle them, and they certainly didn't understand why the police were there. And these are probably like 10 and 12-year-old kids, so they weren't toddlers, but they also weren't adults, and I gathered there was some miscommunication, in fact, on it, that the kids asked them if they could go on the Sky Ride, and they'd just make a round trip and come right back. But mom and dad must not have been paying too much attention to what they were asking at the time and offhandedly told them yes. Yep. So it was really the parents' fault.
Yeah,
that this happened.
Oh, it certainly is sometimes the parents' fault.
But I don't mean to imply that it was in the case of this scenario that happened at Hershey. Not at all. It's like Ryan's saying, kids can disappear in a second, no matter how diligent you are. Mm-hmm. But this whole thing, it was particularly funny because the kids were safe and they were totally safe all the time, and it was just. The look on the kid's face was just hysterical because they didn't know whether to be terrified because, something they were going to get arrested by these policemen or why is mom in tears? What's happened? Or, they just were so confused. And then, it was a case of mom was hugging them and crying them and, oh, my babies kind of thing. Well, dad was ready to whip off his belt and give him the old strap like they used to do.
I just think about when we were at Canopy my niece and nephew are just like, we're like, we were on the other side of a ride that they wanted to ride, and my sister, their mom, and me were like sitting there. We said, "Just go," and then my sister went up to get something else, and like I'm like, that ride cycled like 4 times. By the time she came back, I'm like, I don't know where they are. And like, it's just like the complete opposite. My sister's like, yeah, they'll show up.
They gave it the old
No.
UBI. Yeah.
It's a little bit of a different scenario than being at Hershey. Like the point we were at, they really couldn't go that far. But like, and they did. It was kind of like one of those, like, eventually I was kind of like, where are they? Like I'm getting a little tiny nervous. And they're like, well, we rode that other ride right next to it. I'm like, you should have told us. Like,
You should have told us, right?
but
right.
like, you know, like there's definitely a period where it's like, I don't know, calling the police that fast.
Well, I mean, a lot of parks, the police is in the park.
Well,
He's
I
right
guess
there,
that's true.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
even reporting, like if they were just getting on the ride on the first, like it couldn't have been that long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have
No,
panicked that quickly. At least not with those ages.
Well, yeah, but you know, they were doing a round trip. So
Yeah.
there was the time to get all the way to the other end,
okay.
get out, get back in line and back on again
so
to
they were
come
coming.
back.
Okay, I'm sorry. They were
Yeah.
coming back. Okay.
Yeah, so
got
they
you.
had been gone for a little while.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they, you know, they thought they were had permission to do it, and they were doing. They
Right.
were being good kids and doing exactly what
Well,
they
and
said they were going to
That's
do.
kind of honestly like that's what it with my niece and nephew. That's what it ended up being. It was like, oh yeah, go ahead, we'll be here. And it wasn't like a specific just ride that ride. You know, it was like kind of,
Yeah.
You know, like when we said yes, like we had our vision of what we meant.
Yes.
They
And they had an
asked
entirely different
with a vision
vision.
of something
Yes.
different. So it really
Yeah.
wasn't like they didn't do anything wrong. And you know,
Failure to
Yeah.
communicate.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
But that's, I mean, when you come across those lost kids, man, that is just heartbreaking every
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I've gone through 3 lost kids on my own just through the park, you know, and it's just like 2 were resolved, 1 was unresolved. I remember that because both lost kids stumble upon them. You could tell they're out of place. They're crying. They're already like, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's your name? What's going on? Hey, look at me. I just showed them the branding on my shirt and stuff. Look, I'm
Sure.
here with the park. I'm a mechanic. I work on rides. Like, what's going on? And then they would explain that they lost their parents. And I'm like, okay, the whole thing. Last time you saw them, where were you? Where were you going? You know, who were you here with? And then most of the time, it was simply resolved by I was just standing there with them. One kid I like held. The other kid I was just holding hand, you know, like so we stood
Yeah.
there for a good couple of minutes just looking around. And then off on the horizon,
Here they
I see panicked people walking up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are those your parents? Yes, they are. It's like, okay, great. The third one, the unresolved one, that was the one we stood there for a couple of minutes, couldn't find them. So I called security over. Security came over. They, you know, I said, okay, told them the whole shebang. It's like they went to guest services with the child. And me and a couple of the ops people stood around the area for like another 15 minutes.
Hoping the parents would
Looking,
show up. Yeah.
show back up with, and then we could say, hey, look, go to guest services. That's where your kid is, you know, and get it resolved. But we never saw the parents again. But the kid was picked up shortly afterwards. But it just every time your heart breaks. It's just like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh,
Yeah.
such a bad feeling.
That was something that like Disney's, at least back in the late 90s, early 2000s, they were really serious. Like every single employee went through lost kid training and like an entire module. And
Yeah.
like they're very like everything is like, you know, you just hear one thing on the radio and you know what to do. You just go into action and like, you know, you might be one of the people that goes to the gates. You know, you just kind of watch. Like every single employee becomes hyper aware of kids in that
Yeah.
moment, and they know exactly what to do. And it's like, and that's one thing I always I wish more parks did that type of thing, like Disney does, and I'm sure probably others do. But like, I just love that. I love that, you know, it's like, hey, this is something we got to deal with, and here's, you know, Here's what you
Yeah.
do in that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So the success that Siren's Curse is, if you don't watch the news, is about to spread to Austin.
Yes. It comes that also ran now since they came in
Right.
second. But Tilt Coaster at Codaland.
The circuit breaker.
Yes.
They finally finished that track out
Yeah.
there, which is great.
Does this have an opening day?
They don't have an opening day, I don't believe, but they said that this was just okay. They're finally done with the track. They can move on to finally start commissioning and testing.
Yeah. That's great. Taking them a good long while, but it's not just it's their first major coaster at this new park.
Yeah.
So of course it's going to take some time to get it right.
Cedar Point
everything.
both stole and installed a coaster in the time that this was going on.
Well, if you're going to steal it, you better be fast with getting it up so that nobody can take it back.
That is it. They removed it from one parking lot and accidentally installed it in another location.
That's it.
In a
Oops, it
whole
wasn't
different
supposed to
country.
go there.
Right? It was just supposed to sit in your parking lot. Oh, man.
Damn.
Messed that one up.
Sorry.
I am kind of curious to see how this works out because, I'm a little bit jaded on up times with Cedar Fair parks, Six Flags, like all of it. So, see if this doesn't break down 5 times, whole 5
Or
times.
even if it does, will it get the media attention?
Will it get the media attention? That's what I was going to say.
I'm really kind of curious. I still it's weird. And the media likes to go crazy over things, but it's still weird how much the media covered Siren's Curse. And I don't what's the motivation? Like, if they really wanted to be throwing Cedar Point under the bus, they could have easily talked about Top Thrill 2, which was down a lot more than Siren's Curse was.
Yeah.
Is it just because it's such a scary concept to people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that why
Absolutely.
you think?
Yeah. If it didn't have that track tilt function on it, if it was just a regular roller coaster, you wouldn't hear about any of these breakdowns.
No, and it wouldn't belong in Cedar Point either. Because it's not that big a ride. It just is.
Yeah. It's a small ride. But the nice part about Circuits of the Americas, like every time Vekoma does something, they polish the outcome a little bit easier, and it becomes easier for the next one.
Yeah.
So some of the bugs they worked out of Siren's Curse, they can now take that to Circuits of the America
I
and
have that already done.
right.
Yep.
Now, granted, they're probably not the exact same thing, but I mean, probably pretty close. Probably
Now when they
pretty
get
close.
Palindrome open, I might be able to get my son to go to an amusement park with me because he's a big F1 fan.
Ah,
Let's go down there. We'll tour look at the track and have some fun that way. And then you're gonna ride a roller coaster, damn it! Except that wouldn't work.
There is an F1 race coming up, isn't there, at Coda?
I don't know when it is. I mean, it's every year. There's one there for sure.
I feel like I heard that their goal was to actually get this open for that race. But
well, that would be a good thing to do.
Yeah,
that would
but
make complete sense. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't remember.
They need to get Palindrome open too.
Yeah.
I don't know what stage of readiness that is, but
That's a Super Boomerang, right?
yeah.
Wow, Six Flags beat them on 2 different rides.
Except it's not at all the same layout as the one at Great America. It's a unique layout.
Wait, what?
Or Great Adventure, sorry.
The Super
Palindrome is
Boomerang?
not.
Really? I thought it was a mod.
Okay, we're gonna have to look this up. Oh yeah, I think you're right. It's a mock. It's not what I was thinking of. Never mind.
Okay, so
I'm so confused.
F1 comes to Circuits of the America October 16th through the 19th.
Okay. And
I don't see them getting that done by then.
No,
No.
a shame. But there was a point where I wanted to make a trip down there, surprise Eric, and take him down for some races. And then I looked at the ticket costs for an F1 race. Oh my God! You know,
Oh, wait.
it was $1,000 just to be there for a day, let alone the whole weekend. And the cheap seats.
I'm really confused now. Palindrome. Oh, that's a Gerstlauer. That's not a Super Boomerang. There is another Super Boomerang coming in the U.S., isn't there?
I don't know.
I guess I'm full of crap.
I don't want a super boomerang. I want a giant inverted boomerang. That's what I want.
Yeah, I don't think those are coming back.
Those are the best ones. Giant inverted boomerang, please.
I never got to ride one. I missed it.
I didn't either.
I missed it by like a few weeks, I think.
I was at Magic Mountain one time while it was operational, but I honestly just didn't go on it because I was like, I just didn't want to go on it. Then the next couple times I was there, it wasn't working, and then it was gone.
And that's the one that they moved to New England, isn't it?
I believe so.
Where it went and didn't run. I think that was it. I forget what it was called. That was the funny thing. They had that park had two boomerangs right next to each other.
Yeah, that's right. They did.
What was that? That was Goliath, right? Giant invert. Yeah. And yep, came from Magic Mountain. What did we do without our CDB?
I know, right? Go there for a lot of stuff.
Like, do you remember maps? Printed maps?
Printed maps don't show roller coasters. That's the problem.
No, that's a problem.
Oh. Yeah, I was curious after you said that, Greg. I'm like, what do tickets cost? I don't know what I clicked on. It's a 4-day club pass for two people. I don't know what this is, but it's $34,000 including fees.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Wait, for what?
Do I get an F1 car?
race at Coda?
Do I get an F1 car with this?
Yeah, no. That wouldn't even come close to buying the F1 car.
No, I know they're like 30 million or something like that.
Something
a car.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
But that sounds, you said club passes, probably fancy seats and everything. But I was looking at the cheapest thing I could possibly get for just one day, and it would have been like $1,200 for each of us.
Wow.
Like,
Insane.
The price.
And
I'm sorry, that was $34 per ticket. I'm sorry. I could take the slider button here and adjust it from $34,000 to $208,000. What?
Yep.
What?
There was
208.
I found a guy on YouTube who decided he wanted to go to an F1 race, and which race in the world, because obviously they travel all over the world to do these races. Which race would it be the least expensive for him to go to attend? And he had to go all the way to the Middle East.
Okay.
Including airfare and hotel, every bit of it. It was cheaper for him to go all the way to I think it was in Saudi or somewhere over there anyway, than to go to any of the ones in the U.S., which at this point there's Coda Land. I think there's one in Miami, and last couple of years they're in Las Vegas now too.
Yeah, the upside down pig.
Yeah, it was completely the what? Wait a minute.
This is a rabbit trail we need to visit.
Yeah, we do.
Because my in-laws live in Las Vegas, right? And they're talking. I was like, oh man, F1's going to Vegas. That'd be fun to see sometime. When they did the outline of the track, when they show you the outline of the track, I looked at it and everyone was like, "Oh, that looks like an interesting track." And I looked at it, I'm like, "That looks like an upside down pig." It's one of those things. Once you say it's like you can't unsee it.
Now I'm gonna have to look it up. Yeah. Oh God,
that's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
oh my God, it is! Holy crap!
You're welcome.
Okay, I found it. Yep. Yeah. You were so right.
Oh my
There you go.
God.
Oh, God.
Like, it's dead on.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Upside
nuts.
down pig.
I'm going to have to point that out to Eric. He'll just,
Oh my God.
he'll like that.
That's hilarious.
As far as he's concerned, that will probably be an apt thing because he doesn't like the layout. There's too many, straightaways in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. The drivers were very like, oh, it's not a technical track.
Right.
They're like, they instantly put their nose up at it. Not a technical track. You guys can't even keep your manhole lids welded down. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
Ferrari makes an excellent manhole cover remover.
Oh, yes.
Anybody
way off
interested?
topic here,
I
huh?
added a link to the show notes for that. So
Yeah. It needs to be there. Doesn't have anything to do with coasters, but
I don't even.
it's worth looking at.
I don't even know what's really in the article. There's just a picture of the
Yeah, that's all you
circuit.
need.
That's all,
Right.
that's all that's important.
The article's probably like, holy crap, this is expensive. It's like,
Yeah.
funny, we were just talking about that. Oh, jeez. It's a fun rabbit trail, though.
It is. We love rabbit trails here. That's what Side Friction
Yes.
is all about. So the next story is
Yeah, we can't have too much fun.
right. Yeah. I mean, we visited this before when it happened and multiple times, but the trial for the haunted mine drop accident is about to begin, or is beginning. That happened in September of 2021. Doesn't?
And they're
Such a long time to be able to take it to trial.
Yeah, well, so that's the interesting thing, and this is why this remains. Well, Marineland's pretty much defunct, so I guess now I have one amusement park that I will never visit, and that's Glenwood Caverns. Because, and this is the entire reason why when you go to Glenwood Caverns, you sign away gross negligence. So, and the thing that's unique about Glenwood Caverns is the Colorado court system has upheld this multiple times. So, and actually with Glenwood Caverns as well. So basically, before you enter, so, I mean, you think of like when you do certain things like go skydiving or whatever, you're going to you sign away waivers. And those waivers basically are like, hey, basically kind of like shit happens, but
Right.
there's limits in like what the negligence claims are. So like if somebody made an act, like I don't know. I don't know how to legally define the difference between negligence and gross negligence, but basically it's like, this was an oversight. It was a mistake. You screwed up, but like, it's kind of an understandable mistake. And then there's gross negligence where it's just like, you saw the potential of how this was going to play out. Like you knew this was a reasonable thing. And basically gross negligence comes to the point where somebody could actually just shoot you in some cases and just say, well, yeah, we screwed up, but whatever, you signed away your rights. And that's what differs at Glenwood Caverns. In their documents, it actually says you are signing away your rights to gross negligence. So if a park employee or somebody at the park does something that they know will absolutely cause the death of somebody, it doesn't matter. You signed that away. You have no claim on them. And that's the kind of thing that in courts, generally, that's not going to hold up. But in Colorado, they have backed it. There was actually an incident in Glenwood Caverns where I forget what it's called. It's like one of those, like, not slides, but like kind of like a toboggan run where it's like something on wheels. I don't know. It's like a slide, but it's wheeled. I don't know how. They had them at Action Park, which should say everything.
So this is a while ago because it can't be. It's not there now.
No, I don't. Yeah. I don't think it's there now. I'm not positive on that. But basically, it was like, oh yeah, you had this whole path where you had to be aware of your surroundings and stuff, and they had no lights. There were no lights on the track at all, and they were actually told about that, and they didn't do anything, and injury happened. They got sued, and the court threw it out because they said, yes, the park really screwed up here, but you signed a waiver. You said that you could not pursue them against gross negligence, and the Colorado court system stood on the side of Glenwood Caverns. So, like, this is a park that has no real, other than, potential PR blowback, which takes a lot nowadays to, see action. They don't have any real consequences to not following safety procedures, really. And that's why, it's the one park I won't go to, just because of that. And I know, people have told me it's a beautiful park, but sorry, it's just, I don't like that. You can't just do that. I don't know, but it's going to be really interesting to see this trial. Is Colorado going to be like, oh, hey, people are watching, and this is kind of a big deal. Maybe we should change our stance, or is this just going to be like, hey, you signed it away?
Is this the same liability waiver that people, I guess, that Mount Olympus keeps throwing out there? Because everyone tells me, oh, Mount Olympus has no insurance. They don't accept any liability for anything. That's what I'm told there. Because every time
I get away with it there without something signed.
Right, I don't know, because that's,
or is that implicit in the purchase of the ticket?
It might be in the purchase of the ticket, because every time I make a video about something messed up at Mount Olympus, everyone's like, they have no insurance. They clearly stated that they're not going to do anything, and then and I'm like, that's apparently okay. I guess that's no insurance.
I don't know there hasn't been enough real attention on that matter. There's a lot of, if you I don't feel like diving into it, but when this happened, I this really caught my eye, and I did a lot of reading on law sites and places that were explaining how the negligence stuff works. And I don't know anything officially at Mount Olympus, but I've seen those comments as well, where there's no insurance and stuff like that. I think there might be a difference in that maybe you could sue and you could get a judgment, but you're not going to get any money from that, but here it's just well, no, you accepted that responsibility. You said, hey, I understand that, there could be somebody in this park that's doesn't care if I die.
Right. And
you actually sign it. From everything I've heard, you have to actually sign the paper when you enter the park. That's a requirement for going into the park. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mount Olympus is on the bubble for me.
The bubble?
I'm not at the point where I would say, no, I'm never going to go to that park like I am with Glenwood, because it's not set in stone so much. But I also, kind of think that there is points where I might be taking my life in my hands.
Yeah.
I don't know, especially with no requirement of insurance. Oh my God, that's such a terrible thing.
When I was in Wisconsin last weekend, there was this in the back of my mind: how can do I want to try and get up to the Dells and get on those coasters, because it's not that far away from where I was, but fortunately there just wasn't time anyway, so the temptation was never real. But it's there every time I go home. And then I'm like, do I want to have a sore neck for 2 weeks or worse? I don't know.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, and I have yet to go through with it.
So just for anybody that isn't familiar with this incident, this is the Haunted Mine Drop at Glenwood Caverns, which is it's a drop tower, but it's drops into the ground rather than taking you up and dropping you. You go in, you load at the top, it drops you, and then you come back up. The situation that happened was there were 2 employees assigned to the ride. One had been there for a month. One had been there for like a week. Nobody else with any knowledge of the ride around at all. And what had happened is, Ryan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like a lot of rides basically have a seat cycle indicator where if a ride comes into the station, it is not allowed to leave unless the restraints have been opened and reclosed. And this ride had that. What had happened is I think it was, I may not get this exactly right, but it's close. The ride before had an empty seat that got dispatched. When this group was let on, this child sat in the seat that had been empty before. When she sat down on the seatbelt. She didn't unhook the seatbelt and hook it around her. She just sat on top of it. The ride ops did a check. They checked that the seatbelt was secured, but didn't notice that it was not over her. It was under her. They went to dispatch the ride. The ride complained, saying that the seat had not been cycled. They even actually went over to the seat to look again, and they still did not notice that the seatbelt had not been over her. I don't remember exactly what ended up happening for them to be able to dispatch the ride, but basically they were clueless as to what that error meant. They had no idea what was actually going on. That, oh, hey, this wasn't open and closed. And as soon as the ride started, she was ejected from her seat. Which, just terrible. But, a lot of people, in the aftermath of this, a lot of people were like, well, those ride ops, that's just terrible. But, I mean, this is one of those things where, they were not prepared to do their job. The park didn't give training. They didn't have oversight. You can't just say, oh, hey, you've been on this ride a month. You're in charge. You run everything. That's unreasonable.
Yeah. And it sounds like the control system was designed in such a way to give them an override where it said, hey, you didn't cycle the seat. And they basically did something on the panel after they checked it. Well, like you said, they went back and basically did something and okay, it's, told the ride, just ignore it and go.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what they did. I remember reading about it. It might have actually been they went over to the seat, they actually disconnected the seatbelt and reattached it, but still didn't realize. They didn't make her get out of her seat, right. Which is kind of that's one of the if something goes wrong, I've seen it happen in multiple rides. I think this might be standard, but any kind of these things happen, the ride ops basically say everybody out of their seats, and then everybody back in. When just in an effort to make sure, okay, if something's wrong, let's start over. Let's start this whole loading process over. And they didn't do that. If they would have done that,
right,
this wouldn't have happened. But yeah, they might have actually disconnected the seatbelt and reattached it, but just still didn't see that it, that she was sitting on it.
And this process is the exact same process that roller coasters and stuff use. Anytime you go to a ride, I'll tell you exactly which ones they are. Because anytime you go to a ride and you sit down and the operations crew is screaming at the entire train, do not pull your restraint down, do not pull your restraint down. Those rides, those are the ones, because what they do is when they hit the lock button, the machine has to see the restraint go from unlocked to locked. And if you hit the lock button with the restraint down, even though it's locked and it registers that it's locked, the computer errors out and it says, nope, that restraint didn't cycle.
If anybody wants to see this in action,
okay,
stand around Black Widow at Kennywood for a while. You'll see it happen.
Yes,
Constantly.
You will. Constantly.
Yeah. A lot of RMCs are that way too.
And it's especially bad with Black Widow because there's so many seats. Like, just like, but really, like, seriously, like, and like, you could tell too because ride ops don't. They're not just saying it, like, they mean it, and they make sure they mean it, like anger level yelling at you. Don't touch it.
Yeah.
Please don't. It really is like an Airgate situation.
Yeah. Well, they're trying to convey that message. So, like, we got to tell the people not to touch their restraint. But because they have to do it every cycle, once people get up into that loading platform type area,
they've heard
you hear it once, maybe twice, and then your brain tunes it out.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, that's very true. So Busch Gardens is closing their log flume. This is Tampa Bay. Stanley Falls log flume. Was this an Arrow? I assume.
Probably 52 years old.
Yeah, opened in 1973. That sounds about right. It was one of the theme park's original rides when it opened. There's not going to be many of these left.
No. They're dwindling fast. And there's nothing coming out to replace them either. That's one of the things I noticed. There's never anything coming out.
Yeah. Well, except for that one thing that we saw recently that's over in France, but it's still kind of a different animal.
That is a different animal. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it's actually under an underwater track that comes up out too.
Ripsaw Falls at Islands of Adventure is a new version of log flume.
Yeah, but not like
It's not Arrow, but
last year new.
oh
Yeah,
no, that's
been there
true.
a while
But I
now.
mean, there's newer technology than the old Arrows. But that is true. There hasn't been much. I mean, you can't get much better than Ripsaw Falls.
I haven't heard
so.
anything about what they did. I haven't heard anything about the log flume in over Texas, because what they did, they had two
they
separate
had
log
two.
flume rides there, and they recently combined them into one long one.
Oh yeah,
So I wonder how
remember
that's
that.
gone. Yeah,
I forgot about that.
yeah. A couple of years ago, they did that. They revamped them all so that they were back up to snuff in terms of maintenance and whatever was needing to be updated, and then they somehow managed to connect them so it's one giant log flume ride now instead of two separate ones. But I haven't heard anything about it as to whether or not it was a success.
They successfully increased the length of the ride.
Yeah. Well, there is that. Whether it made it more popular or not.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. It's at Six Flags. It's
Yeah.
gonna go to hell.
And, not sure I want to make a trip down there for another dive coaster.
Oh God, no. Can we stop it with these dive coasters? I
mean, they're interesting, but not really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking like it's there's a it's kind of like this like, oh yeah, dive coasters are crowd pleasers, for the GP, not really for coaster enthusiasts. But do you think that's still holding true, or do you think they're getting overpopulated too? Like, it seems like I remember like Griffin happening, SheiKra, like people talked about it, and like it seems like they're now just like, oh yeah, it's another one. I mean, I know this time they're going to be like, oh yeah, it's Giga, but still. But
I think that's just the way they are, though. They're in my opinion only, they're one and done. They're one trick ponies,
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing is I think like I think the oversaturation is actually even impacting the GP, because like when there were just a few of them, like people were like, whoa, what is that? But now it's just such a commonplace, and them being a commonplace, it's like, yeah, like I'd rather do other stuff. Like I could do that. Like, I don't know. I just feel like there's not enough like like Wrath of Rakshasa, like Rakshasa, whatever. I can't.
Rakshasa.
Rakshasa. I've not heard anything about that. I was listening to Coffee with Coaster Bro without Coaster Bro, or I mean with I guess Coaster Bro was there without Airtime Mike, who is like the reason for Coffee with Coaster Bro, but. That's amid Riley was filling in, but like they were talking about it and like, yeah, Wrath of that was and like they mentioned it. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that exists. Like it just like it flew under the radar and it was like nobody cared.
And that's like, I mean, I didn't go on that one because that was like I was done with dive coasters by the time I made it back to Great America.
Yeah,
but it is a really nice looking ride. I mean, it's got a lot of nice elements and stuff to it. It was like, oh, maybe I should have gone on this, but I went on Max Force instead. That was
that's fair.
Sure. Yeah.
Max Force is so short. I'm like, yeah, but it's fun.
They were also talking about it over on Cuzzy's coffee. They were saying like like they're kind of worried. I can't remember if it was Riley or Caleb that was saying it, but like one of them was saying like I can't really get behind a B&M because we're not
They're
seeing
too heavy.
Well.
Now, that would be under a B&M.
Their newer coasters haven't been the same quality that they used to be, and there's some concern of like, oh yeah, let's supersize this, and like there's the infamous pothole. I still haven't. You rode Iron Menace, right, Ryan?
Yeah.
Did you feel the pothole?
Was this something like towards the end of the ride, or like right before the brake run, or something like that?
I honestly can't remember. I know there was like everybody talks about the pothole on it, but I can't remember exactly where it was.
There was something on there that was a pretty good jolt to one side. Or it wasn't so much one side. It was just like I can't remember which direction it was, but I remember on it somewhere towards the end, I want to say, before the brake run, and there was just like a boom. It was like, oh my gosh, what was that?
That sounds like a pothole.
Yeah.
Maybe that was it. But like
it's almost like the two arcs and the track didn't meet up right, and they created a divot.
Well, that's the thing. Is like I hear people like, oh, it wasn't a bad layout, but like I'm not really going to ride it. It's just not a comfortable ride. It I don't know. Just seems like that's more and more B&Ms are just not at the quality level they used to be, and I think what they were saying over there is
blow that up to 300 feet tall.
Right, exactly. Like how bad's that going to be?
When we first started talking about this for a second, I'm like, well, at least they'll be the only one in Texas. Then wait, no, there's already one at Fiesta, Texas. Much smaller, but it's already there. And those two parks are 4.5 hours apart. So it's, they don't need another one, I guess.
I've really been thinking about this B&M thing. And I really kind of wonder if it's like, if Legacy Cedar Fair and now Six Flags kind of turned them into like a Walmart Fram situation, which I don't know if you guys know. This has happened. I know it's happened with Fram. It's happened with Rubbermaid, and there was a third one that I knew of it happening with, but I can't recall what exactly it was. And I'm sure it's happened a lot more. But basically, what happened was in the case of Fram, their oil filters, they basically, Walmart became the store that was selling Fram. Like almost all of Fram's inventory was going to Walmart, and their business changed around that. And then all of a sudden, Walmart came back and said, "Hey, here's the deal: we're not paying this much. This is all we're going to pay you per filter." And Fram had to adjust their manufacturing to reflect that, which made it be crap.
Poor quality, yeah.
And this is one of the first car arguments I remember having with my dad because he would sometimes buy parts for me. Like I would change my oil when my own oil when I was a teenager and 20s and stuff. But like he knew people that sold auto parts, so he got things cheaper. And but I remember telling him like, yeah, this is the model, just anything but Fram. And he's like, why? Fram is the best, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, it's not. There's car manufacturers that are trying to void warranties if you use a Fram filter. I don't think they ever succeeded at that, but like they're so terrible. And he's like, no, they're one of the best. And I'm like, no, you go. And he went to his friend that ran an auto parts store, and he's like, oh no, he's right. They're complete crap. And he actually brought out a cutout. He cut a Fram filter in half. And it was literally just paper. And it was like one of those things where Fram went from the best to being complete junk because Walmart, became such a big part of their business. And then they said, well, here's the thing. And, it kind of made me wonder, like, Cedar Fair had gone all in on B&M. Like, that's all they were doing. It was just B&M this, B&M that. And it kind of makes me wonder if doing so much business, B&M kind of felt like, oh, we have to give in to their price demands. And then, things started getting cheaper because they had to optimize more and, change things. That's pure speculation. I don't have anything to really back that, but it's something I really thought of because it really was that, like, That's the time when it changed, I think, when Cedar Fair just kind of went all in on B&Ms. And then all of a sudden it was like their quality just started dwindling. Not that they're not good rides. They're still really good rides. I don't want to like completely throw B&M under the bus and say they're piles of shit or whatever. They're decent rides. But there's a notable something's not the same,
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. Last but not least,
the one that's just
you can't have
really
nice
sad.
things.
No, you can't. So we talked about Kennywood's 21 plus night last week and how his fights broke out with the adults. And so now the second one that was supposed to happen last week, it got canceled. And basically it sounds like they're never ever going to do one again because of their, zero tolerance policy. And I guess I can't blame them when you've got grown-ups behaving worse than the teenagers, Why bother?
I'm honestly kind of shocked that they canceled it, though, to be honest. Like, I don't know. I kind of feel like that might have been an overreaction, but maybe not.
Maybe, but, I wonder how much money they made, too. That might be a factor that they're just not addressing.
That might have been the thing. Is like they were worried.
It's kind of like the weather. The fight's kind of like the weather. We got too much fighting and weather. We got to close it down.
We had to cancel it because of the weather.
Yeah.
I wonder what their concoction was for doing that in the first place. Was there like, oh, we're going to make it 21 or older, that way everyone can buy alcohol?
Yeah,
and we're going to make a bunch of money on alcohol sales?
Could be.
And then they found out that selling a bunch of alcohol to people in a captive environment wasn't a good idea?
That and they in the article, somebody they interviewed was saying how the smell of marijuana was everywhere, too. So put that all together, alcohol and drugs, and even if it is just marijuana, it's still gonna.
Yeah,
I smell marijuana parts all the time, though, everywhere. Like
Yeah, but it might, considering that it was all adults, it might have been far more prevalent than it is otherwise.
I guess everybody being there without their kids.
Sometimes people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There is that little bit of a filter that they're like, oh, we don't care now. Because it's like kids
it's my opportunity to ride Phantom high.
Right.
In more ways than one.
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
Yeah.
So they do sell alcohol all the time,
guess-
but like, yeah, you're right. It probably does make sense with that. Just like that filter,
So
like instead of being a 21,
Just
So
like,
they're like,
oh hey, we could go and not be bothered by teens. It's like, oh hey, we could go and do whatever the hell we want.
Right. Yeah, maybe they just found that the fight that broke out was the most obvious incident, but maybe there were other things going on that combined with it.
Yeah,
with the publicity.
that's true. Behind the scenes, like they were just like, well, we don't want to deal
stuff-
with this. Yeah, that's a good point.
yeah.
They might have been, dealing with a whole lot of drunk people that didn't break into a fight, but they were still a problem. So, the overall experience probably could have been bad enough. It said, okay, we're not going down that road anymore.
Might have been close to a riot.
Could have been. Riots at Kennywood.
You never know.
Dang.
So their experimentation basically went like, look, everyone just do what you want. And then the kids are running amok. And they're like, all right, kids, you need a chaperone. And then that got better. And then they're like, if kids need a chaperone, then why don't we just let adults in? And they're like, adults started up and like, okay, adults, you guys need kids back with you.
I was going to say, what if we have a 21 and
yourself.
overnight, but you can't get in without a kid? Yeah.
Went full circle. You need each other so that they stay well behaved.
Right? Let's just say after 6 p.m., everyone needs one child and one adult. Group of kids, you need an adult. Group of adults, you need a kid. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
It's just the way it is.
So before we go, I also want to mention that I think we all actually watched The Legacy of Schwarzkopf, right? All three of us.
Oh, yeah, I watched it.
Yeah, I watched it.
If you haven't watched it yet, it's really good.
Yeah.
Really good. Absolutely.
I think I liked the Era one better though. I don't know why. There was something with the mixing of this one. Like the audio, they presented it kind of rushed, and I think that may be because they had so much to say.
Yeah, they really had an abundance
But
of stuff to work with and to say.
It like moved really fast through some stuff that I'm like, can you slow down? Explain that a little bit better.
Bob, you realize you can do something called rewind?
Yeah.
And I believe, can you even also actually slow it down on YouTube like you can speed it up and so, yeah. So, Bob?
Yes, but no, what I mean, like there were kind of points where I was like, they should have like, not so much that they were talking fast, but like I think they should have like they presented something. And I think they should have like said more about it instead of just like they mentioned something in passing that they should have like kind of dove into a little bit,
Leaned into some more.
Yeah. But I did really like it, other than all the roller coaster museum stuff. But
Well, you just have to
I know.
I
bite your tongue and move on, I guess.
Yeah,
Now,
that's what we
from
do.
growing up right next to Great America in California, which is one of the two Marriotts, that was built, I did not realize how many Schwarzkopf rides were in that park.
Oh, there are a bunch of them.
Yeah, they were practically made. The park was practically made by Schwarzkopf. It was that was ridiculous. But I was going through there. I just had so many weird emotions coming back from like childhood memories to working on things to like going places, and I'm like, it was so weird. It was all over the place. And then just to see all the different, that spider web of manufacturers basically start to come unraveled there towards the end. And it's just like, oh yeah, it came off of there. And there's a lot of really cool stuff in that video. I really liked it.
While I was watching it,
Highly
they were
recommend
like,
it.
they kept mentioning, what was it, BH something manufacturing or like whatever. And I'm like, who is this company? I don't understand it. And like, we're getting through, and I'm like, they haven't mentioned Mar at all. And it was like, oh no, that company became Mar. I'm like, oh, okay. That makes sense. At what point was that when Mar just said, hey, like, to hell with anti-rollbacks? And
Yeah, and I like spikes.
Yeah.
let's put a bobsled on a track.
Yeah.
That's what we'll do. They certainly don't have the same.
I was having a hard time. I was having a hard time when it came to a lot of points not yelling out Gerstlauer.
Gerstlauer.
Gerstlauer. I was just having a hard time not doing that.
I actually didn't realize that. I knew they were closely related, but I didn't realize the founder of Gerstlauer came from Schwarzkopf. I thought it was started as a separate company. But yeah, I mean, I always knew that like Schwarzkopf revolved around. They said Zaire, so I guess I got to adjust myself. It's Zaire. I'm gonna trust you, Ace. Yeah. But Zaire, Maurer, and Gerstlauer, like they all were they were all in the mix. And
I also think after watching that video and knowing just other, history stuff for some of the other rides, which I'm not the best at history things, but I do think we should just start calling Intamin the pimp at this point because
it's true.
Intamin's just going to sell anything, right?
Yeah, kind of a dirty player if you really want to get down to it.
But they've got the knack for selling, too. I mean, Intamin really can sell, like, pretty much anything. They could sell almost anything out there. It's awesome. But I was just like, wow. It's like, Schwarzkopf was doing good. And it's like, what took them off? It's like, when Intamin started selling their stuff. It's like, that's interesting. I found that really interesting.
Yeah.
Because that's the same thing they did with,
Arrow.
What is it, Giovanola?
Yeah. Well.
And... there's a couple of them out there.
That's why
they screwed over Arrow too.
No, Vekoma screwed over Arrow.
Oh, is that Vekoma? Okay, got it mixed up. Thanks.
Yeah. Vekoma. That's why the two look identical to each other.
Right. Sorry,
they stole it, and I know that because I actually after I watched Legacy of Schwarzkopf, I'm like, hey, it's been a while. I'm gonna watch Legacy of Arrow too. So I just rewatched that as well too. they were talking about that. But yeah.
I'm gonna have to watch that one.
Yeah, Vekoma, like Arrow basically was going to use Vekoma as their overseas producer and sales channel and stuff, and they spent all this time like teaching them their craft and everything, and then Vekoma's like, nope, we're going to do it all on our own. We have it now.
Yeah.
I stand by my original statement when people talk about ride manufacturers. I'm like, as soon as you're instructed, as soon as you could figure out how to bend rails, you start your own company.
Yeah.
That is pretty much it, because everyone that's done it was always subcontracted for somebody else until they figured out how to bend rails. And then as soon as they figured that out, they start their own company.
You've been listening to Side Friction Podcast. You can follow us on Mastodon at sidefriction@worldkey.io.
You can also follow us on Instagram at Side Friction Podcast.
Or visit our website at sidefriction.com.
Look for new episodes every Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern, and we'll see you then.